You ready?
Uh-huh.
Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. I've got my mom here today and we're going to make her recipe for sweet potato casserole. It's a staple Thanksgiving side dish that we've had for 40 years?
At least.
At least 40 years. There's the original recipe right here that she cut out of the newspaper forever and ever ago.
When you were just little.
So this is my gluten-free version of this casserole. You don't have to have this just for Thanksgiving. We usually have it for what, Easter, Christmas?
Sometimes.
Sometimes in between. So I've got the oven preheated to 350, and then I've got 4 smallish medium sweet potatoes that I've roasted in the oven. And I put them on foil because that helps them to not make a mess of your cookie sheet. And roasting them in the oven, it really brings out the sweetness of your sweet potato, and they're super easy to mash. Sometimes if you boil sweet potatoes, they get a little waterlogged. So this way, they're more delicious.
So I boiled them and mine wasn't delicious. Is that what you're saying?
Yours was always delicious. But when you learn new things, then you do new things.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you stick with the old things. So this sweet potato casserole, we're going to mash our sweet potatoes, and they're cool enough to handle. I'm going to take the skins off. Do you want to cut the nuts for the topping?
Sure.
So we've got, about a cup or so of toasted chopped pecans.
Let's trade places so you can...
You want to trade places?
And I'll mash it. I'll cut and you can mash.
So all I'm going to do is just start peeling off the skin of my sweet potato.
Do you not have a nut crush?
I think you asked me that last time.
I did, and you just still don't have one. I would have brought mine.
I don't know if you can see, but my sweet potatoes are still steaming. So don't burn yourself. And then I just use my fork to cut off the ends or any bad spots on the potato.
Whoops.
Are you having some trouble?
Where's the dog to eat the nuts that I got?
No dogs here. My cats don't like nuts.
Well, I should have brought my chopper and my dog.
Is this your favorite way to eat sweet potatoes?
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
Or in the casserole?
In the casserole?
Yeah, it is. I got it because you kids wouldn't eat them. And I love them. And so I was looking in the newspaper one night around Thanksgiving, and they had all these recipes, and they had this, and I thought, well, I'll try it and see what happens. And you guys absolutely loved it. And so that was what we had every year.
Well, it is delicious.
Your dad would make a different kind of yams, but when you were little, you didn't like them as much. Now you do, but when you were little, you didn't.
The recipe that I made last year for my candied yams, that is my dad's recipe. So this year is my mom's recipe. I don't remember not liking them, but I sure love them now.
These are your dad's?
Any kind of sweet potato.
Oh, well, I think you were just little. You were like 3, and you just didn't want to eat anything weird. You know, kids are little, they don't eat anything. And I like to just bake them like a baked potato and put brown sugar on them. And you guys would never eat that. You'd eat all the brown sugar off, and then that would be it. And so when I saw this recipe, I thought, well, I'll try it, and you guys loved it.
So I'm aiming for 3 cups of mashed sweet potatoes. This will probably be a little bit more than 3 cups.
Now, are these sweet potatoes or yams?
These are sweet potatoes, but you can make this recipe with yams or sweet potatoes.
And I've even made it with pumpkin.
Oh yeah, pumpkin would be good. You know, sweetmeat squash would be really good too.
You could really do it with any kind of squash, but the recipe is actually sweet potatoes, but I always use yams because I think yams are sweeter.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even though sweet potatoes say sweet potatoes, they're not. And they're usually yellow, so they give it a different color.
Yeah, the yams are more yellow. But I think they actually have yellow sweet potatoes and orange yams. It makes it also confusing. And then it depends on
yams are orange. Sweet potatoes are yellow, or you can get some that are orange. But sometimes the store doesn't know.
Well, yeah, and they just label them whatever
they just say
want.
they're sweet potatoes or they're yams, and you get home and you see, yeah, they're not. That's where Grandpa comes in and says, oh, these are sweet potatoes. These are not yams. Okay, do you want to put these in a bowl or something? Oh, here, I'll just put them in the same one.
Yeah, you can just put them back in the same bowl. So once your sweet potatoes are in this bowl and you've removed all of the skins, you can see how soft they are. You can just mash it with a fork. And I remember growing up, we would always use the hand mixer with the beaters.
Yeah.
To really whip this up. But when they're soft like this, you could just do it with a fork.
Well, when they were pretty soft when we boiled them, but we would just do it like mashed potatoes. You know how you whip mashed potatoes? We would just do that.
Yeah.
And it would get really creamy and
So because my yams are still steaming, I don't want to add in my eggs just yet. But I do want to add in a 1/4 cup of butter that is really soft at room temperature. This residual heat from the hot sweet potatoes will really melt our butter and get it all mixed in there.
When you whip them, you cool them off faster too.
That is true. But I actually don't mind if they're a little bit lumpy. I like my mashed potatoes lumpy.
That's because you're weird.
You don't like lumpy mashed potatoes?
No, I like them really creamy and fluffy.
Look at that, with just a fork. Look how fluffy and creamy my sweet potatoes are getting. I have a whisk, but I don't think I'm gonna need to use it. So while I'm waiting for my sweet potatoes to cool off a little bit more, I'm gonna use this same fork and whip my 2 eggs. Well, not really whip them, but just beat them. In a separate bowl. I've got 2 eggs here, also at room temperature. And then we'll get to my other ingredients, but do you want to work on this or do you want to work on the topping?
I don't care.
So how I like to do the topping.
No, I just want to do you to do it.
You want me to do the topping? Almost spilled my salt. So I do have a greased casserole dish here. You could make this in a 9x13 and do a double batch, but this is usually, a 2-quart size casserole.
There's something in there.
Oh, I think it's from the sweet potatoes. So there's the sweet potatoes. You could mix in this other stuff while you're waiting for it to cool off for the eggs. It's just a little piece of the caramelized brown part on from the sweet potato.
I know. I don't want it in there.
It's good in there.
I don't want it in there. Don't like foreign objects in my food.
It's not a foreign object. So there's 1 teaspoon of vanilla in with the sweet potatoes. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Do you want to scrape that out with the spatula? Here, I'll mix the eggs for you.
I can do it. You're supposed to be doing the topping.
We're doing everything together. Do you want to use the fork?
Nope.
Do you want to use a whisk?
Nope. I'm just trying not to slop the cream.
So while she's mixing all of that together, I've got a 1/3 cup of butter that is really soft, room temperature. I've cut it into little chunks like this. And then I've got a 1/3 cup of my gluten-free flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm gonna add in all of these chopped toasted pecans. And then I'm just gonna get in here and start mixing it around with my butter. If your butter is cut into little chunks like this, they'll stay separated with the flour and the nuts. And once you get them kind of tossed around, I start rubbing it through my fingers to make smaller chunks of butter.
I always used a pastry cutter.
You can do that, but this works just as good. You could even use a fork. And you want your butter soft enough that you can mash it pretty easily. Oh, thank you. Look how smooth and creamy that is without using beaters.
Yes. Perfect.
I'm gonna make sure to get no really big chunks of butter. So once it looks like that, I'm gonna wash my hands. So once your topping mixture is looking like this, where it's pretty crumbly and chunky, I'm going to pour in a 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Traditionally, this was made, or I should say originally, this is made with brown sugar. And if you're using brown sugar or coconut sugar, you would just mix it all together when you're rubbing in the butter.
And you also put sugar in here.
Oh yes, and the original recipe, you're supposed to put sugar in with the sweet potatoes. But I stopped doing that a long time ago because the sweet potatoes are sweet. Oh. So then I just mix all of this together until it kind of absorbs the maple syrup. But it stays pretty chunky still. So once you've got this all mixed together, we can pour the sweet potatoes into the casserole dish. You want me to hold the bowl for you?
I can do it. I've done it before.
Here, let me help you. There we go.
How did I ever cook without you?
I don't know, but you should have been here the other day when I was making the popcorn balls.
Yeah, when you said that you needed help.
Yeah, that would have been helpful. Get all of that.
Maybe I wanted to lick the bowl.
Well, you can lick the bowl if you want to. And then you can decide if you think it needs added sugar in there. So once you get it all spread into your casserole dish, I know a lot of people like to put marshmallows and stuff like that, but we never did put marshmallows on ours.
Nope. We just did it like this.
Give this another stir. And then I usually just take a little bit and start dropping it on. It's really sticky because the maple syrup. So I just sprinkle it around the top of the sweet potatoes. And then you can go back and fill in any empty spots. Are you curious to see what it will taste like without sugar in the filling?
No, I tasted it.
Oh, what did you think?
It tastes good.
Good.
I licked the spatula. Because you know me, I just always lick them.
That's right. Do you think it needs sugar?
No, I think it's fine.
See, when you roast sweet potatoes, they get sweeter.
Yeah.
What do you think? Am I doing a good job here?
Yes, you're doing a fine job.
And I don't mind if some of the sweet potatoes are peeking through a little bit.
You had a very good teacher.
I did have a good teacher. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm just not sure who it was. Probably Grandma.
Oh, I don't remember Grandma ever making this casserole.
No, she never did. This and the rolls was what I brought every year. Kind of like this year.
And kind of like every year. You still do it every year. And then I scrape the bowl and then we can just drizzle this last little bit on here.
Looks delicious.
It does look delicious. Do you want to lick this spatula?
Oh, sure.
Tell me what you think.
I think it's delicious. You need a bigger kitchen.
I do need a bigger kitchen. So now that our casserole is ready, this goes in the oven for about 30 minutes. Because the sweet potatoes are still kind of warm, it probably won't take very long.
Well, but you have the eggs in there, so you still need it to go that long.
That's right. You licked the spatula with raw eggs.
I've done it before. I made cookie dough my whole life, and I'm still alive.
We used to eat raw cookie dough and not even make cookies. We would just eat the cookie dough.
We would say, let's make cookies, and we'd never turn the oven on.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's still delicious.
And we lived through it.
We did. Don't do that if you're nervous about raw eggs, but I'm not nervous.
I'm not either. I'm not nervous about a lot of things.
Me either. So while that is in the oven for about 30 minutes, we will get everything cleaned up and then we can taste it. I didn't even use my whisk. 30 minutes has gone by.
Holy Hannah, that looks delicious.
It looks delicious and it smells delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And just by looking at it, you can't really tell that it isn't brown sugar.
Oh, no, no.
Okay, I'm excited for you to try it with no sugar in the filling. Are you excited?
Mm-hmm.
I'll make you a convert of no sugar sweet potatoes. How big of a piece do you want?
That's plenty.
I shouldn't say piece. It's a spoonful.
That is plenty.
It's hot. There's a... I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You can get a clean one.
I will, because you have a cat.
You can have a big fork. I like a little fork.
I know.
Come over here with me. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably still hot in the middle.
Okay. I'm getting topping. Oh, it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
That topping is so good.
Mm-hmm. With the maple syrup?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the sweet potatoes that weren't whipped?
They're delicious.
It's hot.
They're not as sweet, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes they're so sweet it's like eating a pie.
Mm-hmm. And I've said it a lot. When you stop putting sugar in things, the flavor comes through.
Right.
So you actually get the sweet potato flavor
Mm-hmm.
rather than just a really sweet side dish.
Right.
And if you're serving this at a holiday, you have so many pies already, and desserts, and a Jell-O salad maybe, and other things that are really sweet. And even though this is a sweet side dish, it's not like a dessert.
Right. It's delicious. It's hot. So good.
Mm-hmm. You making fun of me? It is so good.
So good.
So good. That's why we make it every year.
That's right.
Sometimes more than once a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sure is delicious.
It is delicious.
Family recipe that came from a newspaper.
Yep.
Maybe this is a family recipe at your house. Let me know what you think if you make this recipe. It's a delicious side dish for any holiday, not just Thanksgiving. I don't know if I introduced. This is my mom. Did I even introduce you at the beginning?
You did.
I did? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Well, thank you for coming and making this recipe with me today.
Of course.
It was so much fun. Maybe we'll make a Christmas video together.
Okay.
Maybe some cookies or something.
We can make the little cookies.
We could make the little cookies. She's famous for little cookies at Christmas time. I've made them gluten-free and they turn out pretty delicious. So,
Yeah.
are you going to share your secret recipe with all of YouTube?
I don't know.
We'll have to find out. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.